What the? A mysterious box. Oh. Colonel, it's back again. What is this? Some strange, twisting...
It's me, Big Boss, from Metal Gear Solid 3 and Peace Walker and kind of 5.
Whoa! It's a guy that... In canon looks like me, but obviously IRL, we don't look like each other.
Someone stole my jacket, so this is as good as I could do. I swear to, I'm wearing the pants.
I got a pretty good fit going. I have like kind of green like cargo pants, but I mean you guys don't see that because we're sitting the whole time, you know.
Yeah, I got the pants on, guys. Don't worry. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Super Shenanigans Variety Hour. Oh, excuse me, long-awaited Metal Gear Solid episode.
Long awaited,
man. We've been, I have been advocating for this episode since we started this show.
Yeah.
I'm huge into Metal Gear Solid.
MGS.
I'm a big MGS fan. And I'm really excited. Angelo, what did you know about Metal Gear Solid before getting into this?
I just kind of knew a lot of the broad points, like obviously all the like Liquid, you know, all the memes and stuff, and then of course Metal Gear Rising is like the only Metal Gear game I played before.
Almost everybody I know, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
And I hate everyone.
Yeah.
One of you.
Dude, and honestly, my older cousins were super big into it. They had played like MGS 1 through 3. They had like the big collection or whatever. So,
the Legacy one.
Yeah, the Legacy one. So I had always been around.
So I played most of them.
Yeah, so I've always been around Metal Gear Solid. So I always knew like the artwork, the characters, but I just never really knew the story too in depth. So now here I am. Solid Snake.
Solid Snake. Yeah, dude, we got a fan.
Yeah.
So just so everyone is aware, I know the game is called Metal Gear Solid 1. However, it is not the first Metal Gear game. Metal Gear existed as a series since 1987. There was Metal Gear 1 on the MSX2, not the MSX1. Don't make that mistake.
Yeah, let's not be silly.
Well, yeah, let's not be silly. And Konami wanted to make an action game, but the MSX2 sucked.
Yeah.
It could not handle a lot of moving sprites on the screen. And so Hideo Kojima came up with the brilliant idea of what if it was stealth game? And then the stealth genre was born. There's like, I guess, a little debate on if Metal Gear is the first stealth game, but for all intents and purposes, it's the first modern styled stealth game. A lot of the tropes come from Metal Gear. Yeah. And Metal Gear 1's really the first one that is primarily accepted generally by the public. It was followed up by Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. Holy.
Solid Steak.
In 1990.
Yummy.
Solid Steak.
Yummy. I'm so delicious.
On 1990 on the MSX2 again. I never beat that one, so I don't really have a lot to say on that. Oh, and I didn't say anything. Metal Gear 1's alright. You can probably play this, but like you can beat both of them in like an afternoon if you really want to.
Yeah, and plus both of them, aren't they in the new like collections or whatever that they put out as well?
Yeah,
that you get them in a bundle.
They are also in the PS3 collection. That's how I played them.
Oh, fun.
So yeah, they're included. They're included in Metal Gear Solid 3, technically. So you have to go into 3 and then play them, which is neat. But then there was also Snake's Revenge on NES, and that was the original Metal Gear Solid 2, but Kojima had nothing to do with it and said, I hate it, and made a different one, and that's where Solid Snake comes from. So Snake's Revenge doesn't count.
Okay.
Also, it sucks ass. I did play that one.
Okay, cool.
But, you know, after some time, they really wanted to bring this series, you know, up a notch, and it had been a minute. Metal Gear Solid 1 had come out in God's glorious year of 1998, so you know it's been an 8-year gap. We have PlayStation 1 3D polygonal technology, and so we're calling it Metal Gear Solid. This is something. For those who don't know too, Hideo Kojima, he is the creator of this series. A lot of people either love or hate this individual. I love this individual so much. I'm definitely in the love camp. I have gripes with the man.
Me too.
But I think that he is brilliant creator. He's probably
yeah.
one of the more brilliant game creators out there.
He's a powerhouse of a creator for sure. And I mean, you look at everything that he's doing modern-wise, especially at his older catalog of stuff. He has an impressive track record for sure.
Mm-hmm. I never played either Death Stranding. They might.
I played
be okay.
a little bit of Death
know.
Stranding. It's cool.
Last Kojima game I played was Phantom Pain, but
that's fair. Yeah.
I didn't get the PT. That shit got deleted.
Yeah.
When I was like fucking 12.
You're like, no, not PT.
He is known to be influenced a lot by just global cinema.
He loves his movie stars. He loves his
movie stars, but he loves his movies, and a lot of movies made it into Metal Gear 1 or Metal Gear Solid as a series, but for specifically Metal Gear Solid, Escape from New York, he's been trying to make his main character look more and more like I think his name is Snake Plissken, Kurt Russell.
Yep.
In that movie. Fun fact, he tried to get Kurt Russell for Phantom Pain and couldn't get him.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun.
Kurt Russell said no.
That's great.
So that's why there's Kiefer Sutherland in it. James Bond, obviously, from a lot of the spy, and I think especially like when you watch James Bond movies that were coming out around the time, his cutscenes feel very much like what's his name? Like, like Die Another Day and stuff like that.
Yeah, like is that Pierce Brosnan's era, or is that?
Yeah, Pierce Brosnan. His cutscenes feel a lot like Pierce Brosnan and James Bond to me. A little bit of Gundam.
Yes.
In there.
Yeah.
A little bit of 2001: A Space Odyssey. Apparently, that's where Hal Emmerich comes from.
Because the HAL 1000 or whatever the fuck it's called.
And the where this kind of idea for a gameplay loop came from was The Great Escape.
Oh, interesting.
So instead of trying to like guns blazing get through this base Rambo style, just like trying your best to sneak through and engage as little as possible, you got that from The Great Escape.
That's cool.
Goated movie.
I have not seen it. I'll have to check it out.
His games are very cutscene heavy, super story heavy, very conceptual, very out there and weird.
Yeah.
But I also think that
I love
almost all of them are brilliant.
No, yeah, I mean, obviously super solid pacing and how the action is handled. I love a lot of the boss introduction cutscenes as well. And I mean, overall, it everything just kind of makes it feel so epic when it needs to be, and very like not like I guess in a way very slow paced in how like some of this more stealthy cutscenes where like Snake's really discovering stuff, and he's like, Colonel, what's going on? What aren't you telling me?
Dude, that was great. They should hire you for Metal Gear Solid 6.
I'm David Hayter.
Do you want to just jump into presentation with that then?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's no secret that one of the reasons Metal Gear Solid blew up to the general public is they weren't making games looking like that.
Oh yeah.
Games did not have that type of sauce yet.
It's wild too, because let's remember once again, we mentioned it already, but Metal Gear Solid is a PlayStation 1 game, and it's so like the polygons are really nice, the characters look great, and then also like the music still holds up really well. And I think one of the big things too is the fact that like on top of the super cool cutscenes as we just discussed, it's one of those rare PS1 games where I could listen to the voice acting and be like, man, yeah.
So let's get into the voice performances first then. Metal Gear Solid 1 has the best voice dub job in any PlayStation 1 game, bar none. It doesn't get close. Metal Gear Solid 1 has a voice job that still surpasses modern titles for the most part. There are like a couple characters where I'm like,
it's a little silly, but yeah.
But like 95% of this voice cast is absolutely killing it.
Oh yeah.
And again, one of my few gripes with this man is that it doesn't seem like he knows that.
Yeah.
He does not like the English voice cast that much, and mistreats them pretty frequently.
Yeah. Freaking Kojima.
Freaking Kojima. He does not appreciate the American cast very much, despite the fact that the American cast is part of, and in particular David Hayter, above all else, made this franchise really pop off because of when you turned on Metal Gear Solid 1
and heard that,
oh my god,
those silky gruff tones come through that PlayStation 1, you're like, oh
well, when you get that intro cutscene before you even hit start, where where Campbell is describing the mission and kind of giving the setup to Solid Snake, games generally didn't sound that good, just at the time in general.
Compare.
There's a reason this voice cast stuck around for the whole series.
Let's really establish it. For anyone that like doesn't really have much experience with this era of voice acting, go listen to anything from Mega Man X, or any like Resident Evil or Resident Evil 1 from this time. Oh my god. Mega Man 8's voice acting. Mega Man, you must stop Dr. Wily. Yeah, zeros. What am I fighting for?
Like, yeah, this is an era of straight 4Kids ass dubbing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
this shit was clean. The emotional lines hit when they're delivering. There's a lot of soliloquies in this game, bro.
Yes.
There's a lot of monologues where they're going about, like, and then I was raised on a battlefield. My whole family died around me, and I was kidnapped by my government and turned into a freak. And they sell it every single time without fail.
Oh yeah. And especially too, I don't want to describe too much on the boss fights, but like every boss, like when they go on into their soliloquies on top of that, you know, talking about like the reason why they do what they do or their philosophies, it's really just solidly delivered, you know.
Solid. If we're going more on audio too, another thing that really helps support this is the score is brilliant.
Yes.
It's a very, it's hard to describe it because I'm not good at music.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
But it's very good CD quality. All of the synths and stuff don't really sound gamey to me. They sound more cinematic, like something you'd hear in the background of like The Matrix or something. Yeah,
and I think there's a lot of great beats too, where there's these very atmospheric tracks as you're exploring the Shadow Moses base that help really
that stage from Smash Bros.
Yeah. That Smash Bros stage, guys. That Smash Bros stage. But it helps really key in, like, okay, this is tense. You have to really sneak around. Really have to know what you're doing. And if you get caught, immediately the tension gets thrown up super high because the music shifts to this really good tense. You know, all enemies are now alert. Yeah.
And then, you know, there's the sound effect. This game has really good sound effects too, like just general sound design. The alarms are going off. It's very well put together. And like you said, when you're sneaking through a lot of like, just like droning synths and like deep choruses are like just weaving in and out, and it's very cinematic feeling, which is just Kojima's style.
Yes.
Really bleeding through. He is a cinematic man. I just think some of my favorite performances. David Hayter is great.
Yeah.
As Solid Snake. I love Hal's Otacon's voice.
Yes.
Who also sticks around. He's so good that he plays his dad too in future games.
That's awesome.
He plays his own father.
Wow.
Roy Campbell.
Grandpa
fantastic.
Max. Grandpa Max.
Yeah. It's funny. I wasn't a big Ben 10 watcher, so I didn't. You DM me immediately like, yeah, no, I can't take this guy seriously because
He's Grandpa Max.
And he's like, not to be Grandpa Max is Roy Campbell to me.
Yeah, and the whole time I'm just imagining him going, Ben, use the Omnitrix to destroy Metal Gear. You have to go into Heat Blast.
One of the only ones that I don't love is Liquid. I think his is a little funny.
He gets a little hammy. He definitely gets very hammy in certain points.
And there is a reason, but I don't know what the choice to make him have a British accent was really for.
Yeah, I think it's just British equal evil, taken from the Empire in Star Wars.
There's a reason to he does have that, but that was like that. They didn't come up with the lore first. They came up with the creative decision first, and then the lore to surround it.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's funny, and I like him, and he's still iconically corny. So it's not like a drag.
No,
but it's just like sometimes like he's not a British person. He's just like brother.
He's like, oh, brother, yes, I will destroy you. And it's like, all right. Yeah. He's like, oh, yes. I am Liquid Snake. I wish that's how he sounded. That way he could have really pushed the envelope.
The cutscenes are super well shot. I think one thing that actually really does help is the lighting. This game has very moody lighting.
Yes, actually. That's a great point.
So there's a lot of deep shadows in all of both the cutscenes and just the environments. One other great thing about this is he doesn't use FMV cutscenes, like as opposed to like Final Fantasy, you'll have like a transition between gameplay and cutscene that doesn't exist in Metal Gear Solid. The cutscenes are done in engine.
Yeah.
And so the style is consistent all the way throughout.
It also just shows how like automatically good these models are, where you're able to just kind of work with an engine and just kind of really play with them. And make them still feel lively.
Their body language is very expressive. They don't have any like real
Lip
facial
sync. No, yeah.
Movements. Their faces are just textures. But they don't, like they still get across their points very well. Again, combined with really good like body movement and expression, combined with again fantastic voice casting.
Yeah.
A lot of it feels very much like a 90s Pierce Brosnan James Bond film. It's very slick.
Yeah. There's so much style to this game.
There's so much drip and style.
The character designs
everything
are
always
great
follows
too.
the action very well. It peeks around corners when it needs to. So like it really is shot like a spy film.
Yes.
And I think it's really brilliant. And you're right, the character designs are all iconic, except for no one ever thinks about Metal Gear Solid 1 Snake ever.
Which sucks, because I honestly kind of like it a lot. I like the chunky vest. I mean, hey, look at me. No, but I like the big vest with all the... Yeah, it's because everyone loves the beard. It's like, look at how macho and cool he is. I don't know, I like
everyone loves Metal Gear Solid 2 Snake, because if Metal Gear Solid 1 Snake doesn't have a beard, and Metal Gear Solid 4 Snake is old.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
but he's not the main protagonist of 2, so it's really funny.
Yeah, right?
Because it's pulling from the one where he's not the main guy.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
That's alright.
There's a lot of, too, when they're doing their, soliloquies and stuff like that, a lot of, like, almost like drone shots around.
Yeah, it kind of, like, does a
the
good
characters, like,
around.
Yeah, they spin around the bosses. I really good, stylish, like, cut-in facial shots, despite the fact that, again, it's a PS1 game.
Yeah, so nobody's really emoting too much, but it still gets across.
It still delivers the point very well. And, there's obviously a lot of talking, so a lot of shot, reverse shot.
Yeah.
But sometimes they don't do it, like, in a cutscene and stuff. Sometimes they do codec conversations. What do you think of codec conversations? Because they're a little bit of a controversial thing to the series.
So, going in, I knew the whole bit behind doing codec conversations, but I didn't actually expect it to be such a huge part of this game. And I really like them. Honestly, I don't know. I didn't realize there was I don't want to say controversial point, but a point that some people didn't like. I think it's really cool having the chance to, take a break from the flow of the game and just ask the other NPCs and characters that's, in your team, like, hey, what's going on? What's your opinion on this? And it builds a lot of good dialogue, and once again leads into how good the voice acting is, because never once am I bored of listening to these people talk, you know. Snake's such a flirty fuck though. Oh my god, he needs to keep it in his pants.
So, fun fact, he was not originally, like, I would say in this game, character-wise, he's almost kind of close to Wolverine.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
But in Metal Gear 1 and 2, he's a lot more like a Star-Lord. Like, it's very weird. He gets really gruff and Sigma in between games, but it was the right choice, because I think the solid interpretation of the character is a lot stronger.
Yeah. And I think it kind of leans into, like, Metal Gear 1 and 2, he's a younger man, and then here, even though it's only maybe a few years after, like, he's hardened.
Jaded.
Yeah, he's hardened, he's jaded, and he has more of this Wolverine chip on his shoulder.
Twice.
Yeah, dude, yeah. Shit's crazy.
I
had to kill you twice. I had to kill you.
Not again!
Third time's the charm.
If only there was a game that could explain how this was possible. Shout out to Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, what were we even talking about? Codec discussion. Yeah.
Codec, yeah.
So I love codec discussions. I think this is one of the better games with codec discussions too. A lot of the critiques come from, I would say, later titles, which I would say rely on them instead of cutscenes sometimes.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan of Metal Gear Solid 2, but I admit there are some times in Metal Gear Solid 2 where they're going to codec for budget reasons, bro.
I see. Yeah.
Like they're in the same room.
I like this
and
game.
And go to codec.
Yeah, I like this game a lot because codec always feels like mostly optional, you know? Like, if you listen to the previous cutscene, you can just kind of fly through and just really, like, you know, do your stealth and do your thing. But if you are stumped with anything or just want to talk to somebody or, you know, save your game, you codec them up.
It's a really good hint system.
Oh, yeah, it's a super solid hint system. There's some games that have horrible hints.
Codec discussions are generally optional. In this game, I think it's a lot of flavored text that's so well written that it's the main appeal of the game. These character interactions, especially because of most of those characters you can't interact with in the environment.
Yeah.
And you get bits of characterization from each of them, so you have a lot of conversations with Roy Campbell, who's essentially your mission leader.
Yeah.
And he's a very fun character because of he knows a lot more than you do, but refuses to let you know. And there's a lot of, like, can I trust this guy? Is he screwing me right now?
Yeah.
And it creates, like, a lot of tension, especially because they are friends.
Yeah, I think that really leads into a lot of the great voice acting here too, because they kind of give that vibe off too as they speak. You know, like David Hayter plays Snake so well.
Stressed.
Yeah, it's just, he's so stressed. He's like, Colonel, what's going on? Yeah, he's literally like, tell me.
He's like, yeah, like, so well done. There's Deep Throat, quote unquote, which is, it's named after the Watergate informant. It's named after the Watergate informant. They say it in the game. And there's Mei Lin, who's your save. I think that she's really fun.
She's got a great.
She shares fun little Chinese proverbs.
Sometimes they're not really applicable. Sometimes I'm like, what? All right.
She's just really trying to cheer you up, bro.
She's just reading, like, she has a book of them. She's like, I don't know, man. Flips to a random page. Oh, shit.
Bro, this is pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a rough situation, man. I don't know.
Naomi, who also has, like, questionable allegiance. Master Miller, who in this game is really funny.
He's so
I think
funny.
we can. This is not a spoiler-free review. He's the main villain, Liquid Snake, which is really funny because of that means not Roy Campbell. Miller dies off screen, which is really funny to me because of Miller is my favorite character in the later games, and if someone only played Metal Gear Solid 1 and I said Miller is one of my favorite characters for in the series, you'd think I'm absolutely insane.
Yeah, because when you said that to me, I was like, But then
I told you in Peace Walker in 5, he is the best character. I promise.
I only played a little bit of 5, so I got a taste of his character, and I'm like, okay, he is pretty cool.
I think I have issues with 5. I think he's the best written character in that game.
Hell yeah.
I think he's the only one whose arc is actually completed all of the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just really fun. I don't know, I love the codex in this game, and I don't think they overstay their welcome.
The one I never really used was the weapons girl.
Yeah,
I forget her name, and I think that's very telling of how often I used her within the.
Was that Naomi or no?
No.
No, she was Russian or something.
Yeah,
right?
It was like this Russian chick. Yeah.
Well,
she gave me like Black Widow vibes.
Hold on.
Remember when Marvel actually?
Nastasha. Dude, I forgot Nastasha.
Remember when Marvel actually gave Natasha Romanoff a Russian accent in most of her appearances until the MCU? Shit's crazy.
Yeah, no, we couldn't do that.
Can't do that anymore.
But yeah, I think that it doesn't overstay its welcome at all in this. It's one of the best parts of the game. It's a great source of character. And in a similar vein, a lot of people see Metal Gear Solid and bitch about the cutscene length, and I would argue that's really only an issue with one of the games, and it's not this one.
This one's fine. I really don't... Any of the problems I have, we'll talk about later, but it's not with any of the story stuff, to be honest. Or any of the actual, like, cutscene or conversational things.
It's more a pacing thing that people talk about, like, it's always taking up all my gameplay. I never think it's really that bad. Except for in one game, and it's not this one.
Yeah, and I think it helps with your immersion within this world as well, because it's really trying to establish a lot of things that you might not have known hopping into this, not playing Metal Gear 1 and 2. Yeah, because nobody played those games.
Some people probably played Metal Gear 1 on the NES, which is a bastardized version of the MSX one.
Yeah.
You want to just jump into story now with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So in 2013, Hideo Kojima tweeted out.
Year of our Lord.
So, the year of 2013.
The year after the apocalypse.
Yep. We all died, and Hideo Kojima brought us back
with his
clone
tweets.
Bodies, and tweeted out that every single game in the Metal Gear series has like a one-word theme. That really helps like analyze the narrative for that specific game. Now, were you able to guess the one-word theme before I told you?
No.
Fair.
Probably not. But once you did tell me, I'm like, that makes so much sense. Okay.
Yeah, the one-word theme of Metal Gear Solid 1 is gene, as in genetics.
Oh. I was about to say, just like Wolverine, he loves Gene.
For some reason. That's a whole nother episode.
We'll talk about that another time.
Smash like for another X-Men episode.
Yeah!
But this game is primarily dealing with genetics and the idea of, like, nature versus nurture and your ability to choose what kind of person you are. Are you free to become a person who can overcome their base instincts and what they were originally made to do, or their trauma, or this, that, and the other thing? That's the central focus of this game's narrative. Is can you break free from nature?
Yeah, and it's a very powerful theme once you kind of go, especially if you like kind of go back through the game and really play it from the beginning to the end, like really kind of seeing how every character establishes their own unique motives, and it all does boil down to who they are as people and where they grew from,
Yeah, and a lot of them come from similar backgrounds, but depending on the influences around them, hence the nurture. I think that this game kind of goes for the nurture argument.
For sure.
So some basic premise, just so you guys can understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, throw us
in Metal Gear 1 and 2, there was a guy named Big Boss.
Big Boss.
Big Boss. He wanted to make an independent. Yeah, it's me. It's literally me for real, guys. He's the one with the eye patch, by the way. Solid Snake did not have an eye patch, guys.
I had to explain that to Tori earlier today. When I was
when
putting
he put
this together.
She's like, "Where's your eye patch?"
And I'm like,
yeah,
no, he doesn't wear that.
he kind of wears one in 4, but it's not
yep.
real. It's more just like a sick like Google Glass.
Yeah, he's got a scouter from Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, and he wanted to create an independent nation where soldiers were not exploited by their government and were essentially mercenaries for hire for wars across the world, and they could live free and be in tune with their like warrior nature without getting exploited, which you see a lot of that in Metal Gear Solid 3, Peace Walker, and 5, kind of where he's coming from on that.
Yeah.
Big Boss is my favorite character in this series. I wish he was in this game, but
they mention him a lot.
They mention him a lot because it's really important.
It's very important. Yeah.
And Big Boss, being the absolute GOAT, was genetically cloned. And they made, at minimum, 3. In this game, you only really need to know about 2 of them. And that's Solid and Liquid Snake. And one of them got the quote-unquote dominant genetics, and one of them got the quote-unquote recessive genetics.
Yeah.
Which means that guy's a loser.
That guy's stinky
and
isn't cool.
That's the lore reason. That's not the lore reason he has a British accent, but that'd be so funny.
I wish.
Being British is a recessive trait.
Being American's dominant. Being American's the best. I'm Solid Snake.
Christian Bale back.
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
And so he led a unit called Foxhound with a lot of superpowered freaks.
Yeah. And Liquid Snake you're talking about, right?
And Liquid Snake. Well, no, Big Boss led Outer.
That's right.
He led Foxhound before Metal Gear 1.
That's right.
Where he betrayed. So this was originally his unit. They all looked up to the guy.
Yeah.
And especially Liquid. Liquid is the one who at least thinks he has recessive genes. There's a lot of discussion on whether or not he does actually have the recessive genes or not, and if it's actually Solid who has the recessive genes. I'm not going to get into that because I think the main point of this game is that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, for sure.
I think thematically the game's saying it doesn't fucking matter who has them.
And that's very much made clear at the quote-unquote good ending where, you escape with Meryl and everything. But
Spoilers! And so I would say this is where the argument of genetics really begins. Liquid Snake, assuming and being told that he has the recessive genes, has a little bit of a complex over it.
Yeah.
He's not so happy about it. And so what he wants to do is prove and surpass Big Boss's dream and make his dream come to life, where Outer Heaven becomes a real independent nation. And so he takes over Shadow Moses Island with the Metal Gear Gundam that can shoot nukes.
Yep.
And threatens the United States to let them become their own nation, pretty much. And to have Big Boss's remains is actually the primary thing. They want Big Boss's remains.
Yeah.
And Liquid really wants to outdo Big Boss to get over that feeling of being the recessive, inferior clone that he thinks that he is.
Yep.
And that's where a lot of his characterization lies. This is jealousy of Solid for being the quote-unquote superior clone.
Yeah.
There's also a third clone out there who he doesn't refer to ever because they didn't think of him yet. So, Solid Snake, like I said earlier, I think to help really understand the character as he is at this point, it is pretty easy to say, and it's not a perfect 100%, but it's really very analogous to Wolverine.
Yeah, he's fucked off in the wilderness. He has a bunch of dogs in the cold.
He's very gruff.
He's very gruff, a little hairy.
Not in this one.
So yeah, a little gruff and hairy. He's got like a 5 o'clock shadow-ish. He's mostly clean shaven.
Most importantly, he is a man who is struggling between his nature as a warrior, his nature versus the side of him who wants to be a good person and get away from it all.
Yeah, he's there's also a bit of like the Hulk in there where he just kind of wants to be left alone. You know, he wants this peace for himself.
I think Wolverine does that too.
But
Wolverine fucks off in the loneliness all the time.
That's true. They even did it recently in the books where he's just like, X-Men fell apart. I'm just gonna run around naked with some wolves for a bit. Bye.
But he's a man who's grappling with his nature and what he wants to be as a person and do with his life. Yeah. He's struggling between that warlike nature versus his desire to, really in this game I would say his desire to not be involved at all.
Yeah, and
he wants a peaceful life.
Yeah. Throughout the whole story, he kind of keeps like reaffirming that in a lot of ways, you know, especially in conversation with the Colonel, you know, where he's like,
I would say, yeah, with Colonel, he absolutely is like very clear that he was forced out of retirement.
Yes.
He doesn't want to do this at all, and he's only doing it because he kind of is the only guy who can.
Exactly. Yeah.
And also he says to Meryl quite a lot. He is seen as a hero in the military, and he makes very clear that he's not proud of what he's done.
Yeah.
With his life, he does not see himself as a hero. He sees himself as a soldier, and that's more of a neutral thing.
Yeah, he's seen himself being used more as a weapon in his past, and he kind of wants to step away from that.
He sees himself as a tool, not really a person. And that he is not something that should be aspired to whatsoever. And Meryl is someone who wants to prove, we're going on genetics again, her, she's related to Campbell. She is his,
niece, I believe.
Daughter, niece. I don't know why I said daughter. And wants to prove that she has that in her, that warrior spirit that Campbell has, but learns over the course of the game, seeing how messed up war is, realizes that isn't really something to aspire to. Which again, I think supports Snake maybe not wanting to get into the war as much. A big part of this game is him meeting with the Foxhound troops, who very much give in to their nature.
Yes.
Psycho Mantis is a character who his whole life he's seeing into other people's minds, and he sees like evil and ugliness and shit that just kills his desire to even be human.
Exactly.
And also, to tie into genetics again, the primal urge to spread one's seed and genetics. And he thinks it's all just disgusting. He hates humans and is taking this as an excuse to kill everyone he can.
Sex is icky.
Sex is icky.
Ugh.
He sees humans as base animals.
Yeah. No,
and he sees it as an excuse to succumb to his nature, which is to lash out.
Yeah, to lash out in rage and everything you said, and I think it's really powerful too with stuff like Sniper Wolf as well, leading to another boss, and her entire thing of like being a survivor, being an orphan herself, a curd, and being raised up by Big Boss, and there's a little bit of that perversion of nurture within that storyline, instead of it being a positive upbringing, it's just kind of ingrained more into her that she needs to fight to survive and kill to survive.
Absolutely. And can she overcome that desire, or not that desire, that instinct, the killer be killed? And is there a life for her outside of war, which she doesn't know because she has known war essentially her whole life? Yeah. And the answer for her is no. Yeah. Unfortunately.
Her only escape is, in fact, the cold embrace of death.
Decoy Octopus, no.
Decoy Octopus. He's there. He dies immediately. So, yeah.
There are other characters. Decoy Octopus doesn't really get developed at all. He's really just more of like a plot twist more than anything.
There's like the DARPA chief.
The DARPA chief wasn't really the DARPA chief. It was Decoy Octopus.
Yeah.
Revolver Ocelot is a fantastic character, but you gotta get past this game to really see it. But he has a pre-established relationship with Big Boss. He is Big Boss's biggest fan.
Yeah, number one has a
And-
big
and many-
foam finger. Number one.
Many interpret also his gay lover.
Ah,
Mm.
very fun.
And I, especially from Revolver Ocelot's point of view, agree with that reading. I think that Revolver Ocelot is, at least Revolver Ocelot is gay for Big Boss. I wouldn't say for certain whether or not Big Boss returns that feeling whatsoever.
Yeah.
But Revolver Ocelot is definitely infatuated with the man.
Yeah.
And so, in this entire series, is trying to make his dream come true, and just work off all of the insane plans that were like left behind and that he made. And he's a fascinating character, but unfortunately in this game he's mostly just a cowboy with a gun.
Yeah.
Who survives.
Yeah.
He's mostly notable as the only guy who survives the boss fight. Another
Yeah.
important detail, for plot reasons, it doesn't come up in this one as much, but it's really important for the future entries, his arm gets shot off. Or his hand gets shot off.
Yeah.
That's very important for later games.
Cool.
And yeah, there's also, to further hammer home the theme, Huey Emmerich, also known as Otacon, who was one of the primary developers of the Metal Gear Rex in this game.
Yes.
Huey is,
He's funny.
did I say Huey?
You said Huey.
Huey's his
Hal.
dad.
It's Hal for this
Huey's
one.
his
Yeah.
dad.
I
hate
assumed. I assumed. I just was letting you
Hal.
catch up. Yeah.
Hal has probably one of the most fucked up pasts in this game, in this series. But for this game, what is primarily important is that his dad worked for the Manhattan Project.
Yeah.
His dad also worked with nukes. Huey worked with nukes. And he, being a big old weeb, was
Loving
building
Gundam.
his cool Gundam Metal Gear, which was to stop nukes and shoot them out of the air.
Yeah.
But didn't notice that they attached a nuclear armament to it. And so he's like, oh my god, I've become a part of this 3-generation curse to work with nukes and to do nothing but destroy.
Yeah.
And he, unlike a lot of the other characters in Foxhound who kind of succumb to their, like, base instincts and desires and just give up and continue down their nature, like, their path in their nature, it just says, no more.
Yes.
He's not a combatant, he's a straight coward.
Yeah,
Pisses himself in the middle of the boss fight he's introduced in against Cyborg Ninja.
Cyborg Ninja.
Cyborg Ninja.
What the hell's this Cyborg Ninja?
Cyborg Ninja. And decides that he's going to do everything in his power, which, you know, combat-wise isn't much, but he's an intelligent man who works on the facility and knows about Metal Gears.
Yes.
He's going to do everything in his power to stop this.
Yeah, and he gives Snake so much information once they kind of see eye to eye on this and really move forward. And Otacon's a great character. I really grew to love him over the course of the game, and especially with like the Sniper Wolf thing, how he like fell for her, but she just, you know, like I said,
on the battlefield.
yeah, can
I
love
guess.
bloom on the battlefield, Snake?
Kills the shit out of her.
I don't fucking know.
He's like, yeah, I guess I love Meryl, so I suppose so.
Yeah, I guess, you know, fuck.
He is probably my favorite character of the Solid Snake era.
Yeah.
I love Hal. I love
Yeah.
Otacon. He's in 2 and he's in 4 as a primary character.
Yeah.
And their friendship, and I mean friendship, like they're bros.
They're really good for, and it's like another thing with that you know, rejecting one's nature and growing to nurture within this positive element with one another. You know, the little bit I've played of 2 so far, it's really nice to see Snake and Otacon, you know, be homies like that.
They are honestly probably by the end of this series,
A real dynamic duo.
Otacon is probably like one of his only friends. Like they get also read
Through
as
thick and thin.
as gay parents raising a child on an airplane.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that reading. I don't think that one's supported by
by the
canon
lore
as much, by the lore as much, but it is a fun reading. But they're besties, and so now that we have that out of the way, Solid Snake is a man who's torn between nature and nurture and isn't sure whether he wants to quit this life altogether, if he wants to succumb to his nature. When he's in the middle of a fight, he's loving it.
Yeah.
He, despite the fact that he's trying to run from this, he loves it and it scares him. And he's not sure if he wants to succumb to that or if he wants to leave altogether. But throughout this game, he sees people like Hal and like Meryl who are able to overcome their nature and their struggles and their genetics, their genes,
yes,
and work towards being something better. And I think that one of the primary moments that really makes Solid Snake, despite what he says a hero, is Meryl gets shot by Sniper Wolf, and she begs him not to do anything stupid. Don't get yourself killed, just let me die and use your skills to help save the world and help people.
Yeah.
And that introduces a third option for him that he didn't consider, to do what he does, but to do it with good intention and good reason and have a positive effect on the world and to fight for peace.
Yeah.
That it doesn't have to be war or peace. It's you can fight for it.
Yes.
And so I think, to me, that's really the brilliant
that's really
part of Snake's character.
It's really a strong through line for him. And within later entries, you see how he capitalizes upon that. But of course, within this game, that's what kind of helps give him the motivation to even though he's having all these secrets held from him by Colonel and all that, he's still willing to go through with it and put an end to Metal Gear Rex and Liquid Snake's plans to stop Foxhound. So that way he could have a positive effect on the world.
He doesn't want eternal war, but now he knows that it's his ability to make it so that there's no more war. Yeah. And so in the future of this franchise, you'll actually see he acts more as a character who restates this theme. Like in 2, he acts more as a character who knows the lesson and is almost Raiden's mentor figure who says there is another path. You can choose whatever you want in this life, which is a big theme for all of Metal Gear, is choice over your life and where you want to live, how you want to live it.
Having agency over oneself. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's this game that really gives Solid Snake the lesson of personal agency and freedom and allows him to really become that strong character that we love and remember to this day. And I don't think that there's any other game on the PS1 that has a story like this that's really this good.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Really fucking deep, bro.
No, man, I love X4. I love X4. It's deep as shit, dude.
What
Zero said, what he's fighting
really
for.
Good plots, especially RPGs, but I think that especially for a game that's not an RPG, you don't see this a lot on the PS1. I think that this is a very well written, well put together story that's presented fantastically. I love this game.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant, and if Kojima just made this game, I think he was brilliant, but he also made Metal Gear Solid 2, 3, and 4. Yes, I'm including 4, motherfuckers, if you have a problem with that. Make sure to like and subscribe. Yeah. But I think 4 is also brilliant. One of the brilliant things about Kojima is that he is a guy who works with a lot of themes as well about government control. And society in general and how it reacts to new technologies and military industrial complex. And every couple years, every time a Metal Gear Solid game releases, everyone goes, man, this shit's so dumb and goofy. What's he even talking about? And then 10 years pass and everyone goes, oh.
Yeah.
That's what he meant.
Yeah.
And I think we've hit that. We're pretty close to hitting 4. I think we're getting damn close. So with that, we know it's a very well told and presented story, but it's still a video game.
Yeah.
What do you think about the gameplay portion of this video game? Because that's still important.
Yes. There's a lot of really strong points of the gameplay, but since it's PlayStation 1, there's still definitely a lot of clunk that...
A little bit of clunk.
There's a little bit of clunk. Nah. Yeah, there's a good bit of clunk that I think can dampen the experience for some people, but for me, I've played so many retro games and like I'm so used to clunk in older games, like I didn't really care. It was just only slightly frustrating sometimes with like
Y'all weren't raised in the asylum I was raised in, bro. We were playing
bro.
Castlevania at 10 years old, bro.
Bro, same here,
On the
bro.
NES. Dude, we were just like those sick 80s kids, bro, who are always so cool and always don't shut up about it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Our games were so sick. We had the Atari and then the NES and SNES.
The game and you had to play it all over again.
But I mean, the best part about this game is the fact that the stealth still feels really good to play, and whenever you fuck up, it feels like you were the one that fucked up. You know, like you walk into an enemy's line of sight, you're like, uh-oh.
Let's get into just the basics real quick. So I think Editor Liam show a little bit of gameplay on screen, depending on how DMCA'd we get over that. It's a top-down perspective. It actually plays very similar to Metal Gear 2, but with polygonal 3D. It's a top-down perspective, slightly isometric. You know,
excuse me.
I would, or no, it's not isometric. It's a top-down perspective.
Yeah.
But fully 3D environments with like elevation and stuff like that. And like, you know, real 3D geometry. You are in third person controlling Snake with cardinal direction controls. It is not full analog.
Yeah, so you can't really hit your diagonals northeast, north.
Well, like, you can, but it's like it's
there's no
in
between.
You can hit northeast. This is backwards for you guys, but northeast, east, southeast, south. Like you can only do the 8 directions.
Yeah.
Which I think the game is mostly built around, so it's not like
it's never a real issue. Sometimes it just gets a little awkward, like shifting around.
There's no curving geometry really that you have to quickly navigate, so it's not really an issue.
It's all like square boxed off corners and stuff, so like it's never really too much of a problem.
And what you were dealing with is you were trying to sneak through these environments while staying out of enemies' line of sight, which you could see in a map in the corner, which is like a conal bit ahead of them. But the thing about the AI is that for a PlayStation 1 game, it's pretty smart.
Oh, yeah. No, the AI is super responsive. I mean, they'll as soon as you get into their line of sight, I mean, they'll start to notice that you're around, or if they find a guy that you might have taken out, like stealthily, they'll start searching for you, and they're actually really effective at it.
It's even more than that. They'll hear noises. If you're hiding in like a box in a place that the box is not supposed to be, there's different people know the box, but the boxes are actually coordinated to the areas. If you're in the wrong box for the area, bro, they're gonna notice.
Yeah, exactly.
Hell, if you're outside, they'll notice your footsteps and follow your tracks.
Yeah, because once again, it's a snowy environment too. So to make that clear, like they're seeing your tracks in the snow, and they're like, hey, and they start following you.
That's not our patrol route.
Yeah, exactly. And then also the knocking on surfaces is something so ahead of its time that like later stealth games like the Assassin's Creed games like play upon that with like whistles and knocking, so it's super fundamental for later stealth titles from the 3D for the 3D era.
There's a lot of like immersive sim elements too, like again the footsteps there. You can use your cigarette smoke to see lasers that are invisible. The guards have like set like patrol loops, but also sometimes like there's a section where they'll take a break to go to the bathroom, and again they'll deviate from those routes depending on what you do. There's just all sorts of stuff like that, like really fun immersive elements to this game, and it makes it feel like a really well thought out environment.
Speaking on the bathroom bit, like I found that super charming when I got to that part in the game, because I was like, oh, that's really fun, just like sitting there like stealthing up, hugging a wall, and then just seeing the guards loop in and out to their bathroom spot. I'm like, oh, that's super fun.
Yeah, I think that's it. it gives the impression of it being a real living, breathing world, probably about as good as a PS1 game could possibly do it.
Yeah.
I think that they really take advantage of the technology. I think it's really well done.
And there's a lot of fun gameplay loop things, like, along with the stealthy exploration element of trying to find different gadgets and gear to help you along with your mission, which is really fun. And sometimes, like, I know in our playthroughs, I had missed some of them initially. I don't remember exactly which ones, but then I had to backtrack once I died, and then came back around and was like, oh shit, there's something here that I should have looked for earlier. Okay, let me keep that in mind for later sections.
Yeah, there's one of the primary bits of gameplay loop too is you're trying to there are a lot of doors which are locked by certain levels of key cards, and you have to progress throughout the environment getting the right key card for the area you're trying to progress into. Shout out to Metal Gear 1, where every single key card was a different item, and you could only open a level 6 door with a level 6 key card. That was sick. So glad that that's not a thing.
Yeah, your key card levels up the more you have
yeah, you
could
use your level 6 in a level 1 door or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're generally trying to scope out your next key card when you're not doing like more of like a story relevant thing, like I have to go find a sniper to fight back against Sniper Wolf, or I have to go, further infiltrate the base for this reason or this reason. There are also like fun little things, like there are some like little puzzles, quote unquote, like having to knock on walls to like find which wall is like hollow and you can bomb through, or to use the there's the electric floor and you have to use your rocket launcher to.
That's exactly what I was gonna bring up. The
controllable course
missile, the controllable missile to go through the obstacle course and get to
that bit.
That was a little rough.
On a PlayStation Classic controller, which is way smaller than a normal PlayStation controller.
Yeah. So you're like,
so that doing shit on the D-pad of it, because it also didn't have an analog stick, sucked.
Yeah, no, that's rough.
That sucked, man. That was brutal. But yeah, there's a lot of, I'd say, like, variety in how you engage with the environment. You have to sometimes watch out for landmines. Again, line of sights, dealing with enemies.
Yeah.
Security cameras, lasers. Security cameras. You throw like an EMP at them.
And you only have a limited amount of time to run through before they reactivate, and then if you get caught by them, they just start fucking targeting and gunning your ass. So.
And there's a little bit of resource management tied to that too. Like, do I use my EMP here because you can only carry like a small amount.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty well balanced game.
Yeah.
All things considered. I think the progression for the most part isn't too cryptic, but there are a couple moments where, especially it being a re-release sucks. Like they expect you to look at a codec number in the manual, and I didn't have a fucking manual, bro.
Yeah.
Apparently, though, they included it on the back of the box of the PlayStation Classic, so I still had an out for that. But I don't think you played on the new.
I played
collection.
On the new.
How'd that go?
So on the new like remastered collection or whatever, I was like really stumped about the Merrill code, and I was like, how the there's no backup box for this or anything, so I guess I'll just look it up. And then later, like I think Shaman was the one that told me like, oh yeah, if you like hit the pause button and go into like the menu, you could pull up the box within the pause menu and then look at the code in there. Yeah, and then you also, for the Psycho Mantis boss fight, for the switching controller slots, you just have to press pause, go into the menu, and then be like, switch from controller 1 to 2.
Feature that exists only for that boss fight.
Yeah.
There's no other reason.
I was sitting there going like, damn, dude, how do I beat this Psycho Mantis guy? And then I had to look it up. And then
you got pretty close to raw dogging it though one time, I thought.
I did get really close to just straight raw dogging it.
You can it is possible to beat it without doing that. It's just insane. You have to be really good.
Yeah. I was almost goated, but I was not that goated.
You were almost goated. But yeah, that's something that is also a little cryptic. Like, the game doesn't tell you to swap controller ports. You kind of just have to intuit it. And since it's such a famous thing, I knew how to do it.
Yeah. I had heard of it, but I'm like, what the fuck? How do I do it on the PlayStation 5, man?
that is the advantage of the PlayStation Classic is I did have a controller 2 slot, so I could just do that.
Yeah.
Now I could just play that game on a PS1 because I have a PS1 and a copy. But
whoa.
So I could just do it normal. Do you want to dive into boss fights?
Yeah. They're all pretty okay.
I don't agree.
I don't
think they're all pretty okay.
Actually, Sniper Wolf's so fucking annoying.
Okay, let's go through the boss list.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. Yeah.
Let's go through this.
Who's first? Is it Revolver Ocelot?
The first boss is Revolver Ocelot, a fight that I think is okay.
That one's cool.
I think that it's fun. I think it's a little janky because we forgot to say in the controls. Holy shit, the aim controls are so bad.
The shooting controls are pretty dookie.
And again, you're not incentivized to fight people, but also when you're in a bind, God, that sucks.
Yeah. There's been a few moments where I've had to, like the one section after the helicopter fight, which we'll get to, of course, but the elevator where you're just kind of like, you just have to gun down the guys at the elevator
at the door. I did not first try that for sure.
Yeah.
That was like a good 3 tries.
Yeah. There's a couple of shooting segments where it's like, holy shit, this kind of rips.
Yeah. Revolver Ocelot though is essentially like almost like a cowboy duel, where there's it's the president of it's president of Arms Tech, right?
I believe so. Yes. And he's
strapped in to a bunch of bombs, and there's a bunch of tripwires around him, and he's in the center of the room. And so what you have to do is kind of chase Revolver Ocelot around this central bomb core and shoot around it to try and hit him while he has ricochet bullets.
Yeah, and that's a super cool concept. I just think for the PlayStation 1 and the shooting controls for Snake, it just gets a little rough.
Great.
Yeah.
Next is Vulcan Raven's tank.
That's right. That one wasn't terrible. You just kind of have to
terrible,
grenade it and claymore it. But yeah.
But it wasn't like peak.
It wasn't the easiest thing to do, and it wasn't like the most initially intuitive thing to think of either.
Yeah. Cyborg Ninja sucks, bro.
Dude, the hand-to-hand fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so cheap when he like nukes himself at the end of the fight
at the very end of the fight, he nukes himself. So if you don't have enough health to survive that or don't know what's coming, you have to do the fight again, which happened to me. Happened to Shaman. It's
I had
great.
to do that fight like 3 times because I'm like, I'm shooting him. This isn't working.
And if you think the shooting controls suck, dude, the range for punching is so short.
Yeah, you have to be like on them.
Aren't responsive enough. I think that it's because it's not full analog. It's really hard to get to him and hit him right.
Yeah.
It's a difficult fucking fight, and I don't think the controls really support it too well.
I managed to kind of clear through that fight once I understood it was the hand-to-hand bit, and I kind of found it easy once I did understand it was hand-to-hand, but of course I had the benefit of having analog stick on my DualShock.
Yeah, I didn't. So that fight could suck my nuts. I'm not even playing around, bro.
After that, is that the first Sniper Wolf fight?
No, after that it's Psycho Mantis, who is I'd say the first good boss fight in the game.
Yes, yeah, he's really fun. Once he starts like lifting things with his telekinesis and throwing it at you, and you're
speak of sauce, bro. A very droning soundtrack that's like sounds like it's a mind control note. Sounds like it's boring into your mind. The room with very shiny tile floors with the lights from the ceiling and wood paneling makes it like a very strange, bright, reflective space.
Yes.
He demonstrates his psychic power by reading your PlayStation 1 memory card data.
Yeah.
Which they could not do that shit anymore because that's literally malware, bro.
Yeah.
You can't do that shit anymore.
Yeah. I see you've been playing a lot of Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Yes. And he'll also commentate on like you know, like
if you've been
how
doing well or
how
not.
you've been playing.
I think
so,
for
like, I
Shaman,
remember watching Shaman.
yeah.
Shaman got like torn apart.
Dude, Psycho Man's just like, dude, you're dog shit at this game.
Dog
Put the
shit in this
game
game, bro.
down. Go outside, touch grass.
But it actually works, I'm pretty sure, for the PlayStation Classic, because it did notice I played Final Fantasy VII a lot.
Oh, that's fun. That's super fun.
So I was like,
You're
I didn't know about that part. So I was like,
You're like, get out of my fucking system, dude.
then after that is Sniper Wolf 1, which is probably the worst fight in the game.
It's really rough, because, I mean, you have to really dip in these little cubbies, or these little corner bits in the wall, take pop shots, but if you get hit, it throws your...
It's a first-person sniper camera,
Yeah.
and you're trying to find her with these not very smooth controls, and she blends into the environment very well,
Yes.
and she's a better sniper than you are, and if you get hit,
Yeah, your
launches in the
scope...
complete other direction.
Yeah, your scope, if you're in the top left of the screen, you get shot all the way to the bottom right, and then you could get hit again, so then that fucks up your aim even more. And then now you can't tell where the fuck she is.
And so, dog shit fight, I think.
That one's rough.
Terrible. I hate that fight so much. On top of the fact that you have to double back and get the sniper, which I already think is a little bit filler.
It's a bit filler.
On the progression front, you have to backtrack and be like, oh yeah, there was a sniper all the way back in like the beginning of the game that I didn't get.
Yeah.
So I gotta go get that now. And so I think that section is...
Yeah, big stink.
Then comes Liquid in the Hind D,
Yes.
which isn't great
That's-
either, because
that's
that
a
is an
little rough.
action set piece
Yeah.
with controls that really would rather you weren't doing action set pieces right now.
Yeah.
The
The
and
missile...
so it's like a gauntlet up a tower,
Yeah.
followed by a fight against the helicopter. I think 1v1ing the helicopter isn't too bad.
That part's not bad. The thing that really frustrated me about the Hind D fight is the climb up the tower, because you're just getting fucking blitzed by everyone and all these turrets, and if you don't have enough EMP grenades, which I didn't have at a certain point, so I had to reload.
Get wrecked.
You're fucked, dude. You're fucked. Capital F.
It doesn't really mesh well with the stealth focus of the game. I think in some later entries this would be a lot more of a welcome section, because I think that they merge action and stealth
Much
a
better.
lot more evenly. I wouldn't even say better, because I think that there's a lot to love about the way more stealth focused like first 2/3 games.
Yeah.
But it's a section that doesn't really work in that style that well.
Yeah.
Then there's the Sniper Wolf 2 fight, which is like the same thing, but you're both in a field.
Yeah.
And so add another element of like...
And also,
know,
it's so awkward trying to
taking cover.
get prone and then aiming with the sniper, and you have to make sure you're, split up in the right spot.
Around a
And
whole
now she can
fucking
hold
arena.
a whole arena. And then also, if you lay down in the wrong spot, all you're seeing is fucking snow right in front of you, so you have to move, and then she shoots you, and then you die.
I know. I love Sniper Wolf as a character.
Yes. Her boss fights kind of rip.
It's fair that she SS Sniper Wolf took her name. That's literally why she's called that, by the way.
Yeah.
But those fights are dog shit, man. This series does way better sniper boss fights later down the line.
That's good.
Next up is Vulcan Raven, one of the other good boss fights.
I actually really like this one. The kind of like refrigerator chamber, basically.
Yeah, so I think his is great because of the stealth is incorporated into the fight.
Yeah.
So there's it's a big like refrigerated cart almost, essentially. It's like a storage warehouse, but it's in the fucking Antarctic, so it's essentially like a big freezer.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of storage crates all over the place, creating like a little bit of a maze. And he's a giant beast of a man with a minigun. So he'll just wreck you if you just run at him.
Yeah, and he'll also change up the environment too, depending. So
yeah, he will.
and it makes it even more interesting. And
so you either have to like sneak behind him, find some vantage point to like take him unawares, or you can also use the controllable missiles to snake them through the environment.
That's what I did. What Shaman did was super interesting, and I was like, oh shit, Shaman did nothing but use claymores and grenades, and
which is a solution I've never seen before. That was really creative. I didn't know
it
you
was
could
super
do it.
creative, yeah. And I was like, oh wow, that's super neat. Where Shaman just kind of kept baiting Vulcan Raven into all these situations where it's like, oh, I could grenade you, I could throw down a shit ton of claymores in a row, and he just kept walking into them.
Yeah, that was a really unique solution. I've never seen it before. I also used the controllable missile.
Yeah.
Because to me, I was like,
that's easy.
I'm gonna go to this corner and.
Yeah.
After that is Metal Gear Rex, which I think is okay.
Metal Gear Rex pissed me the fuck off with the first stage. It was always the first stage. Second stage, like I could get through more, but I was already so fucked up from stage 1 that it's like
and it was kind of hard
to last stage 2. So I had to like that was the boss fight that took me the longest. I remember messaging you and Shaman, and I was like
getting tilted and like, I'm not sure if I'm beating this game on time, guys.
Dude, I don't think it was to that extent fully, but it was kind of down to the wire of like 2 days.
You were getting pretty mad.
I was getting tilted. I was like, are you fucking for real? But then the wild thing too is like after Gray Fox shows up, Cyborg Ninja, who is
Deep
like
Throat.
Deep Throat. Yeah, he's
Frank
like
Yeager. He has a lot of names.
He has a lot of names. He's like, Snake, I'm actually your homeboy.
Your dude that you killed because I was a bad guy.
I'm dead.
Again, I miss this talking about theme because I forget about Cyborg Ninja sometimes. But he, is also a soldier who tried to fulfill the Outer Heaven ideal, and then was kidnapped by the government and turned into a cyborg ninja who was essentially mind controlled. And ultimately, throughout this game, battles his programming and his training and what his purpose was, and joins up with Snake and helps him through the mission. And that also, especially considering that he was his friend, and one of the reasons he's a little PTSD'd in this game is because he killed him in the last one.
Yeah.
That really also meant a lot to him, and also further pushed him towards the heroic side. Sorry, forgot to mention that, guys.
Yeah.
Cyborg Ninja. But, I mean, Gray Fox hops in and helps you out against Metal Gear Rex in the cutscene between, phase 1 and 2, and then also, like, you have this moment of Snake where it's like, I can't shoot! I can't do it! You can't sacrifice Gray Fox's life because you've already killed him once, it's that PTSD angle once again. So, Gray Fox sacrifices himself to help you, you defeat phase 2, and then Liquid! It starts with a 1v1 punching fight, which I think is a little bit more tolerable than the Cyborg Ninja one because of Liquid is not nearly as agile.
And then also it's super fun too because it's a great set piece on like everything's like kind of red hued. It feels super climactic. You're fighting on top of Metal Gear Rex. Liquid shirtless. I think you're shirtless too. It's a shirtless man fight.
You guys are both discussing the primary theme of the game. Like, there's a lot of like you get a lot of Liquid's perspective during this section, and what he wants and why he does what he does, or did what he did, and Snake rejecting his ideals and rejecting nature over nurture.
Yeah,
he was nurtured by Otacon and Meryl and Cyborg Ninja, and shown that there was this other way, and chooses to follow that.
Yeah.
And then that's followed by a fun Humvee turret section. Fun in quotes. It's all right.
It's okay. Like I said, the aiming's rough. At least you're in a turret, so like it's a little better.
The health is a lot higher.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's not nearly as rough as Sniper Wolf, and it's in third person.
Yes.
So it's not nearly as bad.
It's not nearly.
You're able to keep a good track on where Liquid is most of the time.
Yeah.
So I think it's a way better designed section, but it's still not like fantastic. And then he dies of the disease that we forgot to bring up.
And hey, that's okay. Because I mean, you have this moment at the end of the boss fight. Cutscene happens, both of your cars crashed. He's about to kill you, but then he has a turbo heart attack from the fox die virus, which Snake is also infected with.
I hope this doesn't come back to bite him in the ass in Metal Gear Solid 4. I hope this shit doesn't turn him like
Old.
60 years old by the time he's like 35.
Don't worry about it.
But yeah, the fox die is a thing created by the government. Snake was infected with it, and the backup plan was in case he lost at any point. It's a disease that is genetically predisposed to infecting members of Foxhound, and specifically Liquid Snake. And it works, and it does kill Liquid, and it doesn't kill Solid, and it's like, oh, is that gonna bite us in the ass? Yeah, probably. But we saved the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think overall, I mean, the game's super solid in terms of its gameplay. With the critiques we have with the boss fights, I mean, overall the level design's super fun. We get to experience a lot of different environments, and there's a lot of cool gameplay elements that play with the environments we're in. So,
and the boss fights are made up a lot by the story, because of despite the fact that I hate a lot of the boss fights. I like Cyborg Ninja as a character. I like Sniper Wolf as a character. I like Vulcan Raven as a character. Even though I like this fight, I don't know why I said that. I love Revolver Ocelot, bro. Is also one of my favorite characters. In the series. So in the end, I still think that it's not the end of the world. And also, it's a PS1 action game, so to a certain extent, also like I don't know, the boss fights weren't great in that era, like in a lot of games.
Yeah,
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Action combat in 3D was still kind of like
pretty new.
So fair enough.
So and that's another thing. You can't really blame this game in a lot of elements just because it is working with the
despite
hardware
the fact
at the time.
It feels so modern. This shit came out in '98.
Yeah.
On the PS1.
On the PS1. So once again, through everything we're discussing, keep that in mind. It's really impressive for its time.
So good.
Yeah.
And that these are issues that primarily the boss fights improve with later entries. I think that actually the boss fights are some of the best parts of 2 and 3.
Oh hell yeah! I'm excited to get to those then. I'm excited then.
So, I think they fixed that issue pretty cleanly.
That's good.
Is there any other opinions you want to share about your experience with Metal Gear Solid 1, Angelo?
I love the artwork within it. The codec artwork by Yoji Shinkawa, I believe. Yoji Shinkawa. I mean, I think the MGS1 Snake design is the better Snake design. I do like Old Snake. But for
my favorite.
Entirely different reasons. In terms of like brown hair, cigarette smoking Snake, this design takes the cake. Like the big puffy vest, while still kind of having like the baggier pants, skin tight on the arms, all the like extra tactical bits. It's super fun, and like within the gameplay itself, I really enjoyed the kind of freeze framiness of choosing and scrolling between my different items. Like my guns or my
UI.
My like all the UI things are really neat, and just being able to peer like underneath of things, crawl underneath of cars, or even peer around corners in a first-person perspective, just really helps flesh out the stealth element of the game and make you feel like you're a super badass super soldier going throughout this stealth mission.
Yeah. My only other thing about this game that I haven't said that I have that's maybe not my favorite thing is I don't love the ending.
The ending with Meryl is kind of
I think it leaves a little too hard on the romance part of it. It's like love can bloom on the battlefield, which to me was like one of the less impactful themes.
Yeah, it was one of the themes that like didn't really apply too much to Snake either. It was kind of more of an Otacon lesson for him to kind of like question and learn.
Him and Meryl are like definitely like
they're flirty,
involved, but also like I don't care about their relationship that much.
They're not endearing enough.
I don't think that that's really the thing that makes Snake a very interesting character.
No.
And so they very much lean in the Meryl. So there's 2 endings to this game, depending on how well you do in the Revolver Ocelot torture section.
Yeah.
If you do bad and fail, you rescue just Hal and get away.
Yeah.
And if you survive the section, or not survive, you don't die, but if you do well in the section, you pass it. You can rescue Meryl, and Otacon just gets away by himself.
Yeah, Otacon kind of like helps be mission control for you for like the final bit of the game as you and Meryl make the escape.
And dude, I don't really like the Meryl ending that much because I think it's too much on the
It's
like.
a little too fairy tale ending.
And now we can live our future for ourselves.
Yeah, it's a little fairy tale ending.
It has like a very cheesy outro song.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I didn't love that ending.
It's like it's very cheesy, very fairy tale, very like, oh, we get to skip away together and ride off into the sunset, literally. You know, it's like, all right, come on, yeah, like, did we need that? You know,
isn't true. That wasn't the lesson that we get to go away and skip off into the sunset. That wasn't what we learned.
Yeah.
We learned that we can take our future and that we can like, you know, fight for peace.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. I feel like the ending isn't great. I think. Especially because I think that this series has really good endings. I think 2 has one of the best endings in gaming.
Yeah.
3 has the best ending in gaming. It is incredibly iconic. And I think 4 has a fantastic ending despite the fact that it has an hour-and-a-half cutscene at the end. I'm not kidding, by the way.
Oh, no.
That's not a joke.
Oh, no.
When I said that I don't think the cutscenes are a problem in any of the games but 1, I'm talking about 4. 4 goes a little. You can pause it though. You can pause it.
All right, I need to take a bathroom break. This cutscene's too long.
But there is a feature-length film at the end of Metal Gear Solid 4.
Jesus Christ! Oh my God.
So, but I still think that game's ending is really good. You just have to be okay with that, which I was. I was into it.
You were into it, okay.
I was into it because by this point I was really into the series, and I'm like, I'm gonna let them indulge themselves a little.
Yeah.
Which is my review of Metal Gear Solid 4 entirely. Yeah, they're going a little far, but I'm gonna let them indulge in themselves. I think they earned it.
Yeah.
I adore this game.
I really liked it. I really ended up loving it. And it's a game that I would, without a doubt, go back and play again, much like how I've replayed like a lot of other classics over and over again, like your Sonic 3 and Knuckles' and Castlevania on NES's. Just my kind of lineup of retro games that I love to revisit has now expanded.
Yeah, I love 1. However, it's followed by 2 games that I think are like some of the best games ever made ever.
Cool.
I'm excited to get into Solid 2 might be my favorite gaming thing ever. Just full stop. I'm a huge Metal Gear Solid 2 enjoyer. Metal Gear Solid 2 might be my favorite game ever.
Wow.
Specifically from in a games as art standpoint. Like
that's
I think Metal Gear Solid 2 uses the medium in a way that like hasn't really been used. Like people struggle to use the medium of gaming as well as they do in Metal Gear Solid 2.
Interesting.
Like I think that people will often talk like, yeah, well, the game has a good story, but is it being a game really necessary? And 2, the story, people talk about like doing an adaptation of Metal Gear in movies wouldn't work with 2.
Yeah.
Straight up. It wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Being a game is necessary.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I love Metal Gear. I love Metal Gear Solid 1. I think that it's really just a great game.
Check it out.
Please
if you
play
haven't
it.
already, we've talked on its talked good on it all day.
Yeah, legally purchase it, guys. I love legally purchasing things. This is one of the only games I really do have legally owned. So it's one of the few games I literally did play it legally.
Same here.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more Metal Gear discussion, let us know if you want to see us talk about Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 and 4 and beyond.
We'd be more than happy to go into it because
these games
are really cool premises, really cool gameplay. So I'm more than happy to dig in some more. So yeah.
Yep. Thank you guys so
Thanks
much for watching
the Super Shenanigans Variety Hour. We'll see you next time. Like and subscribe.
Please watch all the way through.
Please.
If you don't watch all the way through and like and subscribe, I'm gonna be so sad.
I'm gonna be really, really, really pissed. Okay.
I'm gonna be disappointed in you.